Whoa, things just got super saucy in the real estate industry. And today, I'm going to be talking to you guys about a court ruling that has the potential to change the future of real estate and the way that real estate transactions take place. It's your agent, Tyler Wehrung here. In full disclosure, I am a real estate agent, an active agent with Keller Williams Advisors here in Cincinnati, Ohio. But anything I say today will be fully my opinion and my opinion only, breaking down this court case against the National Association of Realtors, which, again, I am a member of. But today, we'll just be talking about the court case in and of itself, my opinion of it, and my thoughts solely. So, guys, with that, let's go ahead and jump in and talk through what just happened. All right, guys, so I'm going to be breaking down this article from the New York Times. As you can see here, I did export it to a PDF so that I can highlight a couple key areas that I want to draw attention to. But this article did come out on Halloween, and it was pretty scary. But I'm really not a funny guy, but had to take a shot there. All right, so guys, in this New York Times article, the headline is Home Sellers Win $1.8 billion after jury finds conspiracy among realtors. I'll just read here quickly. The influential National Association of Realtors and several brokerages were ordered to pay damages to home sellers who said they were forced to pay excessive fees to real estate agents. So guys, just to break this down quickly, so the National Association of Realtors, who is that? They are America's largest trade association. Have 1.5 plus million professionals who subscribe to a strict code of ethics, advocating for and protecting the rights of property buyers and sellers in the U.S. for 115 years, 1,200 staff associations, 200,000 plus realtors holding subject matter expertise. In a nutshell, in layman's terms, the National Association of Realtors is a association that almost every realtor has to be a part of. I don't know if I can say it has to, but are highly encouraged to join the National Association of Realtors. In fact, you can't call yourself, if you're not in the NAR, you are just a real estate agent. You're not a realtor unless you join the National Association of Realtors. That's where the name comes from. But guys, almost every agent is a part of this in one way or another because they work in so tightly with a lot of the brokerages, the MLSs across the nation. So pretty much every agent that you know is a realtor because they are part of this association. And so this association was sued, and yesterday the court ruling came out that they were found liable for the settlement of $1.8 billion. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you guys really about what the plaintiff's complaint was. And the main thing that I'm going to hit on is what this means for the future of real estate transactions and how you might work with an agent moving forward. So guys, I'm going to jump down to the important piece here. This article is out there. If you just Google it, New York Times, I think it was the first article that comes up, but I've read through a lot of them, and I feel like this one just sums it up nicely. And but if you want to get into more of the details and all the complications of the case, highly encourage you to do your own research there. But under a NAR rule, National Association of Realtors rule, a home seller is required to pay commissions to the agent representing the buyer, which sellers claimed forced them to pay excessive fees to agents. So just to break this down, when you are the buyer of a home and you get a buyer's real estate agent or a buyer's realtor to represent you, you as the buyer, currently the way it is today, you do not pay your buyer's agent. They are compensated by the person selling the home. That person selling the home, now this isn't a blanket rule across the board. You can get, you can adjust fees all over the place if you want to, but we'll just talk about the majority of transactions. In the majority case, the seller is going to pay a 6% commission on the sales price of the home, whatever that sales price comes to be. It doesn't matter what you listed it for, whatever you, on the closing table, what it says on your HUD, that's the figure used to determine what the commission that you will pay is when you're the seller. So if you list your house for $200,000, doesn't mean you're going to pay 6% of $200,000. You're going to pay whatever. You might get an offer for $250,000. You might get an offer for $150,000. Whatever you get to the closing table at, that's the figure that you use to pay commission. And so where does that 6% go? It doesn't just go to the agent listing your home for you. That is typically, and again, I'm talking about the majority of case here, that 6% typically is broken, it's split in half. So 3% goes to the listing agent's brokerage, and the other 3% goes to the buyer's agent's brokerage. And then the buyer's agent gets some split of that 3%, and then they pay their own taxes and fees on that. So buyers aren't paying their agent to find them a home. That fee is paid by the seller. And it's split between the seller's agent and the buyer's agent. Matter of fact, not the agents, the actual brokerages that they work for, okay? So let's understand that. We'll go through here, and then we'll walk through some of the impacts. So home seller said brokerages collaborated with National Association of Realtors to enforce what is called cooperative compensation rule. But under the verdict, the sellers would no longer be required to pay their buyer's agents, and the agents would be free to set their own commission rates, which would be slashed in half or less. For example, a home seller with a $1 million home can now pay as much as $60,000 in agent commission. So that's in that majority case where a $1 million home, they're paying $60,000 or 6%, 30% to their agent and 30% to the buyer's agent. So basically what they're saying in this example here is that the seller of the home should not have to pay the buyer's agent this $30,000. And now this verdict just came out as I'm creating this video. There are likely to be many appeals and likely years to come before there's a final settlement and concrete changes are starting to be implemented. But what could all these changes mean, and how might they impact you as either a buyer or a seller yourself, or if you are a real estate professional or realtor yourself? Well, I'm glad you asked. So what would a world look like with buyers having to compensate their buyer's agent or eliminating the buyer's agent altogether? Now, you might say that I'm biased because I am a real estate agent myself, that I would think that's a very bad idea for the real estate market in whole. But let me tell you why I feel that way. And if you still disagree, drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. And I truly do feel like I have an open mind on this and not just regurgitating this information for my own personal gain. Now, I do know that there is a community, small community, I like to think, of folks out there who think realtors are expendable and they aren't needed whatsoever. And I'll be the first to say that I definitely think there are some things that could be done better to enhance our industry and things to be done, more effective. But I think removing agents altogether is not a good thing for the industry. So let me first talk about the situation where we're asking buyers now to pay for their own representation and have sellers only pay for the listing agent's fee. So many of the buyers that I help get into their first property today are scraping everything they have together. They're saving up years to finally have the money for a down payment and a little bit of extra runway to where they feel comfortable purchasing a home. To ask them to come out of pocket even more to compensate their buyer's agent, I think would just leave a lot of buyers on the sideline altogether. So what does that mean? If they're not going to pay for a buyer's agent themselves, what are they likely going to do? They're likely going to try to reach out to the selling agent, the one who's listing the property, and try to get some information from them. But now, are the selling agents going to be incentivized to do additional work or more than the work that they're expecting to today? Are we going to now ask the selling agents to educate the buyer along the whole journey, something that the buyer's agent typically does today? So if we're going to rely on the listing agent to educate, but the listing agent now is the sole agent of the seller, so whose best interest do they have to keep in mind? Because as a reminder, when you are representing a client, you are a fiduciary, which means you have to do what's in your client's best interest, no matter if it puts the other side down. So in my mind, who's going to get the raw end of this stick is going to be the first-time home buyer who goes out into the market uneducated, and we're going to put them in the ring with a trained professional real estate agent who does this on a daily basis, who is familiar with the ins and outs of the whole transactional process, and who is a fiduciary to the seller and is incentivized to get them the best deal possible. Now, if you're watching my channel, the likelihood you're going to be taken advantage of is a lot lower. Most of the people that I'm out there working with is either A, their first time ever buying a house and ever understanding what this whole process is all about, or two, it's the person who moves once every 5 to 7 years on average, who forgets everything about the last 5 to 7 years ago when they bought their last house. So you're putting that kind of education in the ring with someone who does this on a daily basis. So unfortunately, I don't think real estate agents are really going to get the shaft. They're ultimately going to pivot and target going after strictly listings, and the buyer at the end of the day is going to get the bad end of the stick. So you may be thinking that it's not really fair for the seller to cover all the costs for the buyer's agent, but let me make the case on why I think that's still not a bad idea. So today, when you're willing to pay that 3% to the buyer's agent, what are you really paying for? Okay, you're basically going out to the marketplace to a bunch of agents who've already pre-qualified leads who are looking for something in your specific demographic, and you're paying for their attention. You're basically saying, hey guys, here's what I have. Do any of your pre-qualified clients meet this criteria? And if you have one, I'm willing to pay you a small percentage of the deal in order for you to bring that lead to me and ideally close on the deal. Now, the second reason why I think that's not such a terrible idea to ask the seller to pay for all of those fees is I would say probably 98% of sellers are also buyers themselves. So it's not like they're just paying for this and they're getting stiffed. They're the buyer in the next transaction when they're selling their smaller house to move up, move down, whatever the case may be. Most of them are selling the house to then go buy again, and then they're getting that benefit on the buy side of that transaction. So ultimately, I think over someone's lifetime, the net result is zero. Because, on your first-time home buyer, you don't have to pay that on the buy side. But when you sell it, you do. So ultimately, if you know when you're buying something that you're getting the 3% off, but ultimately when you go to sell that, you're paying it back. To me, it kind of all comes out in the wash, and it's just a matter of time frame. So those are my thoughts and why I think this is not the best idea to just cut bait and quickly adjust the compensation model for agents. However, I do think there can be some small tweaks made along the way, but completely changing the way that buyers agents are compensated today, I think ultimately results in the end buyer getting the shaft. But guys, I would love to hear your thoughts on this court case, this ruling, and the impacts going forward in the real estate industry. But guys, if you got any value out of today's video, a free way to support would be liking the channel, liking this video, subscribing, or share it with anyone else who might be impacted by this lawsuit or just may be interested in the real estate industry in general. We talk about all things real estate, HELOCs, and real estate investing here, and I hope to see you on the next video. With that, I'm Tyler Wehrung, and we'll catch you next time.